Hello.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to jump right into questions. So please use the raise hand function on Zoom and we'll take them as they come in.
Who's up? Who's first?
Ben
You get
Parker.
a prize if you go first.
Ben Parker, you're up first.
All right. Hey, Coach, just kind of quick thoughts on the bye week, kind of how it went, kind of what your kind of key focuses are, and just kind of what the main focuses were during this week off. Yeah, go.
Yeah. So, the main thing was get some guys back, get their legs back, hopefully get some guys that were a little nicked up, healthy, and then improve. So those were the two things. And then we got on the road and did a little recruiting on Friday. So those were the three goals. And I think we accomplished all those things.
Thank you, Ben. Troy?
Yeah, Coach, overall, grand scheme of things, when you look at some of the things that the offense has been able to do so far this season, what's your sense of which position groups have shown you the most as the season's gone so far?
I don't know if any stand out. I think obviously we're super inexperienced up front on the offensive line. And those guys are battling and improving. Just gotta see more of that. And then all of our positions really outside of Ben and a couple of running backs really were really inexperienced guys. He was really the only one that had much experience. Levi a little bit, Rogers. Just kind of seeing, I don't know about surprised, you just kind of see where they're at and what they're able to do. Obviously, you get a clear picture when you get into live action. So for us, it's about, adjusting to our players and what they do well and minimizing maybe things that they don't do as well. And so we did a little bit of that on the bye week as well. We're doing it all year. But we're new to each other. So there's not a ton of surprises in terms of, it's just more of kind of realizing, who we are and where we got to improve and those type of things.
Thank you, Troy. Gary?
Coach, I have two questions. A quick one is Ashton Daniels expected to be able to play this week?
Yes, he's going to be able to play. Yep, he's up.
Okay. I wanted to talk to you or get your feelings about Colorado. A lot of your colleagues are very critical, very negative about Deion Sanders and what he's done at Colorado. I don't know whether it's jealousy or whether they like the team being 1-11 or it has something to do with the transfer portal. But I just wonder what your feelings are. Do you have any thoughts about Sanders and his approach?
Yeah, I think, with college football, everything is changed so rapidly that I think everybody's kind of trying to get their footing and figure out exactly what the direction is, how the best way to move forward. And I think Coach Sanders is doing that as well. Obviously with the transfer portal, the world or the college football world has turned upside down. Then you throw on in the NIL and it's turned upside down as well. So I think what Coach Sanders is doing is trying to adjust his best way possible, the way the climate is, what the advantages are and the disadvantages. I think that's what we're all trying to do, and do it in a way that captures who you are and your identity of your university and all those things. Everybody's got different challenges depending on where you're at. But I got to say, he's done a really good job. I mean, they have improved. They play hard. It's pretty clear that they're a better team than they've been in the past. And I think they'll continue to get better. So I'm not critical at all of what Coach Sanders is doing. He's doing what everybody else is trying to do in terms of adjust and find some sort of a competitive advantage. And at the end of the day, our job is to graduate players and hopefully have a great experience and win football games. And, there's different ways of doing that, different philosophies to doing that, but that's what he's attempting to do.
Thank you, John.
I was going to ask a different question, but Gary, I liked your question. And so Coach, I'll throw it to you. Coaches have always had different approaches, even in the former days, but would you say now, maybe this is a layup for you, but is it ever more clear now that there are just different ways to coach Division I college football, and not that battle lines are being drawn, but there are just very distinct paths, sort of evolving as far as how to succeed doing it and including different definitions of success.
Yeah, I think you're right in some respects. I think that's true. And then the one mainstay is you need good players. You know, you're not going to win championships without really good players and good coaching. So that's a mainstay. You still need good players. Now, how you go about doing it in this climate, there's different ways to do it. We are not a transfer portal university, so we're just not. We're going to do it with high school players. So it's going to be a little different. It's going to be kind of a longer build because you can't flip your roster, you know. So it's just, you're right. There's different ways to go about doing it. And what you do is you take your competitive advantages or the things that you can do and you utilize them and you don't complain about it and you figure out a way to do it. And that's what Coach Sanders is trying to do. And that's what I'm trying to do at Stanford as well. Take what we have as an advantage, any disadvantages that we have, you know, don't complain about it, just manage around it. Typically strengths are weaknesses and weaknesses are strengths. There's some paradox in there. You got to figure it out and nobody's going to feel sorry for you. You got to figure out how to do it and how to do those things where you're graduating players, they're having a great experience and hopefully you're winning football games. How we'll do it here at Stanford is going to be different than almost anybody in the FBS level. I can't think of anybody that really is on par in terms of how we have to do things. There's some teams that are a little more probably tilted towards how we have to do it, but I don't think there's anybody quite like us. I like that. I like being an outlier. It's just for us, it's gonna take a longer time just because we're gonna have to do it with high school players. We're gonna have to develop those guys. And it, you know, when you're a young player, there's just gonna be some hiccups. There's gonna be some heartaches that you're gonna have to deal with until they become more experienced.
Thank you, John. Ben?
Yeah, I just kind of want to get your thoughts on some of your running backs, Casey Filkins, EJ Smith, just what you can do to get those guys more involved in the passing game as receivers, because I was just kind of checking PFF grades from the last game against Oregon, and Filkins was one of your top receivers. So just talk about what you guys need to do to maybe get those guys more involved in the receiving game, because they do have some potential there to make some plays.
No, it's a great question. And I think, you know, when you're as an offensive coach, you're trying to involve your best players and what they do well. But you're also trying to be cognizant of certain areas that you have to take care of in terms of like protection and running the football. So, you know, running backs and tight ends are those groups that they're involved in the protection. So, you know, I can draw up a lot of pass plays, but if you don't have time to throw, it's not gonna be very effective. So, you know, involving those guys in the pass game is great. No one likes getting the backs out more than I do. But you also gotta be able to protect your quarterback and give him a chance to plant his feet. So, and that's the same with the tight ends, just because of the nature of their, you know, the vicinity or the location where they're lined up. They can help out in protection. Sometimes you can get them out quickly. If you're throwing the ball quickly, sometimes you need them to chip before they get out. And then sometimes you need to keep them in. So it's always about, you know, taking on those challenges that you have while also trying to utilize your talent and spread the field and be able to do those in a way that gives your offense a chance to be successful. What you don't want to do is give up a lot of sacks because you get negative plays and it's very difficult to recover from those negative plays.
Harold?
Hi, Coach. I know you've been asked kind of how Dion builds up his football team, but he's also brought out a lot of celebrities since he showed up. What do you expect to see Friday night? What do you think that environment's going to be like?
Yeah, I mean, it's been sold out for like a month, so I think it's going to be a great environment. I've got a chance to see the TV version of a couple of games, or just watching it on anytime I have, and it seems like the fan base is really into it. It seems like they're loud, and so that's really cool that he and his staff and their program have brought that to Boulder. You know, Boulder's always been a place that's really enjoyed football. I was a graduate assistant there in, I think it was 94 or 5, I guess 5. And it was a great fan base. And so it's good to see them, you know, and the celebrities and all that stuff. I'm not sure. I don't know all the celebrities, but I guess that's pretty cool. The players can tell me who the celebrities are. But yeah, I think anytime you bring in, you know, excitement to like he is to college football, I think it's awesome.
John?
There we go. Coach, could you educate us on practicing fast? We've heard just sort of during our bye week, the 49ers, I don't know if John Lynch has said it, but we're succeeding in part because we practice fast. What is practicing fast? And if the team is not practicing fast, are there consequences? Does somebody who's first team become third? I mean, educate us to what your concept of practicing fast is.
So there's a couple of things, and I've watched the 49ers practice, and I think what he's talking about, just the speed at which they practice from whistle to whistle. So, and they do practice fast. When you're in pads, but you're not tackling, or you're just in helmets, and no shoulder pads, you still want your guys to practice fast. The challenges are you want to avoid as much contact as possible, especially when you're not in pads, because you can have injuries that result from that. So you got to learn how to practice fast by also not having a ton of contact. And they have certainly mastered that in the practice that I saw. And our guys do a good job of that as well. And it's, staying away from the quarterback and all of those things. And then there's the practicing fast in terms of your tempo between plays. And so that's a different kind of fast. And so that enables you to get a lot more snaps. It enables your second guys to get more snaps. And that's something that we've always been really big on is getting a lot of reps. I just don't think you get better unless you're getting reps. So NFL players are a little bit different because they've played so much. I think you don't need to get as many reps. Some of those guys have been playing 14 years. They've played a lot of football. They need to kind of go through the steps and all those things, and they need to practice fast from whistle to whistle. But I don't know that they need as many reps as, say, a college or a high school team would need. These guys need to play football. So we're cognizant of that, but also trying to, keep them healthy.
Troy?
Yeah, as much attention as is devoted towards Colorado football seems to be devoted towards one man. There's an actual team with there too. What's your sense of how the Colorado football squad has evolved throughout the course of the season? The fast start, ran into a brick wall against Oregon and struggled, but won on the road at Arizona State. What's your sense of how the Buffs have evolved throughout the course of the season?
Good. I mean, they've taken care of business on the teams that, that they probably should compete against. And they played like us, they played some really fantastic teams, USC and Oregon are, they're some of the top teams in the country. So, I think they're competing. They went on the road and got a great win against Arizona State. They're a very resilient team. They've been down a number of times. It's been situations where they go back and forth at the end of games, and they find a way. And I think their team in general and their coaching staff do a great job with that. I think the quarterback is pretty special. He's a tough kid. He continues to compete. His demeanor is the same. Even when they go up or go down, he just continues to make plays. So I think he's a big part of that as well. Just the fact that what he brings to them on offense, his ability to extend plays and do kind of what it takes to get it done, because he's done it a number of times.
Ben?
Kind of touched on the offense, but just kind of what have you kind of seen from the Colorado defense, and just what's going to be kind of key to your offense finding success against them in that realm?
Yeah, I mean, we gotta keep their offense off the field. We've got to maintain drives. So the most important thing is we gotta execute and create plays in the red zone and big plays. We need more big plays in our offense, and we need to be able to get the ball in the end zone when we get in the red zone. In terms of their defense, they do a really good job. They play a lot of man coverage, but they'll mix it up. They'll get in different fronts, and they play really hard the entire game. They're flying around and playing with a lot of energy and a lot of passion. So they're a challenging group.
Steve?
Yeah, Troy, I got in a little late here, so if this question's been asked, I apologize. In the past couple of weeks, when you've talked about Justin and Ashton, you said pretty much I'm going to use them both unless somebody really separates himself. Could somebody separate himself at this point in the season in practice, or would the separation have to come in a game?
That's a great question. Practice definitely is really important, but for quarterbacks, I would say you really separate yourself in games just because everything is escalated and turned up, and how you, you get hit in games, you don't get hit in practice, you're hurried in games, you're not hurried as much in practice. So for a quarterback, the separation is going to come at this point is going to come in games. So I think your point's astute. If one of them separates themselves, then I could see them emerging, and ideally, you want to have one quarterback. But until that happens, we'll play both guys.
Great. Thank you.
John?
Hey, Coach, more of a fan of the stands question than trying to ferret out your philosophy. Sporadically, we've seen you with option play calls. I think the long run of the SC was very successful, and obviously you've got two running quarterbacks. Football's evolved. The defenses are faster, sort of sideline to sideline. So I understand how option football is sort of not passé, but it's not used as much. But what are your thoughts on that? How you have utilized it this year, and is it sort of a one-off part of your arsenal, or kind of where does that fit in your sort of modern scheme?
Yeah, we're always going to have option as a part of our offense, because I do think it creates a lot of anxiety and issues for defenses when they're dialing up blitzes and all those packages. They got to account for the quarterback in the run game. And so if they're imbalanced, bringing pressure from the boundary or the field, or sometimes you can get them out leveraged. And these guys are smart guys, defensive coordinators, and they're aware. So sometimes we'll limit what they do defensive, which I think is always a benefit. And there's always an advantage to having 1+ in the running game. That being said, there are negative things. Obviously, your quarterback could get hit. You're pitching the ball, so there could be a possible turnover. But we will always use it, and typically we're going to always call at least one option play where he's pitching it or keeping it in a game, and sometimes more.
Troy?
Yeah, you hinted at this a couple minutes ago, and I'd like to kind of do a deeper dive on this if we can, at least in this setting here. What could be going better in the red zone?
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't really pinpoint it on one position. I'd say the main thing is you got to make plays in all over the field, and the red zone's no different. Now the space is more constricted, and you don't have as much room to do those things. So sometimes you're going to have to run the football a little bit more, just because the windows are when you get to I think it's a 16-yard line, or right around there, the field becomes the same width as it is the length, so your philosophy has to change a little bit, and guys got to make plays. Certainly a running quarterback is going to help you in those areas, but we've had opportunities for sure, and sometimes we've executed and sometimes we have not. But can't put it, Troy, just in one area or one position. It's all of those things, and including, it starts with me as the play caller, and our staff in terms of designing the game plan. So it's all of those things, and we'll continue to work at it, and hopefully this is the week that we do a better job in the red zone.
Harold?
I know you don't have any control over when the open week comes, but do you think it came at a particularly good time for you guys to be able to take a step back and kind of reevaluate where things are?
I think, you try to imagine where the best bye week would be. I think last season I had a bye week that was like after the first game, and sometimes bye week sounds great, but if you're playing really well, sometimes you want to keep playing, and it's just hard to predict. So I've kind of stopped trying to judge on where the best week is for buys. This one seems like a good time. Obviously getting guys healthy and trying to get their legs back, and where maybe some fatigue is. I haven't seen that with our guys in terms of mental fatigue. They've been very engaged and practicing really hard. So I've been really proud about our guys in that respect.
Ben?
Yeah, this is a question I ask I've asked multiple coaches every time they go into the Rocky Mountain area. Just thoughts on the altitude. How much does that kind of factor into your planning at all, or just thoughts on getting guys prepared to play at 5,000 plus feet of elevation? Yeah, we played there last 2 years. We played at Colorado State last year, Northern Colorado.
a couple of years before that, and then I was a coach there. It did seem like there were occasions when I was a graduate assistant that it would affect guys. I don't know if I noticed that the last two times that we played there. So I'm not sure. I mean, obviously there's some science behind it, but I think all you can do is train really hard in the off season and be cognizant during the game if your guys seem tired, if they need a break, and continue to play with a lot of players. So I'm not sure if I have a great answer on that, other than we're going to our guys are in great shape, and we're going to try to give them breaks as much as possible, and if we'll adjust throughout the game.
John, you're still muted.
There we go. Coach Ben Yurosek, obviously is a terrific talent last couple of years, whether it's the coaches or Pro Football Focus. He's been first or second team all conference. I know you're probably racking your brain trying to figure out how to involve him in the pass game more. I know you've given him touches in the run game, and you partially answered this question with the need to protect in the pass game. Are you sort of racking your brain about how to get him involved, maybe quick game, or because I know he's somewhat, you speak of wanting to put players in position to succeed. So just all about Ben.
Yeah, Ben is, I think you're right. And I think it's very similar to the running back question in terms of you want to get them out on routes, but you also, want to make sure you're protecting your quarterback. So that's always going to be the challenge with tight ends and running backs is, if you can 5-man protect, which I've been a part of teams that can do that, you can get everybody out, and it's for the most part, and it's an effective way to throw the football just because you can space the field and attack people. Sometimes they're not able to do that. Now with Ben, he does a good job in protection. He's a really good receiver. And there are times where he's won in the progression. There's times he's got to chip before he gets out. And there's sometimes we need to keep him in. The challenge is always trying to get him involved while also being able to not expose any other parts of our team on offense, where we're limited or kind of weak in protection.
Troy?
All right, Coach, maybe a little bit off topic, but maybe not really necessarily. Hypothetical situation. You're up by 3 with 1:18 to go. The other team has called its final timeout. You've got 2nd and 12 at the +32. Do you hand the ball off like Mario Cristobal did, or do you just kneel down on it?
I think probably kneeling is the right thing to do. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have a crystal ball. And that is not a pun intended.
Yeah, that's good.
I really didn't mean that.
Yeah, I know.
Incredible. That just happened. But you can't foresee the future. The chances of a kid, it was probably, I don't know their team, but it's probably a guy that took care of the ball. You got a bad break, and then they get 2 incredible long passes, and it's the worst case scenario, that you could draw up. But the card would say, the proverbial card that everybody has. There are some times when it's close, where maybe you hand the ball off. Credit to, was it Wake Forest or Georgia Tech?
Yeah, it was Tech.
Yeah, Tech, incredible resiliency and just a bad break, and a great job by them. But it's an unbelievable scenario. But I'd take a knee, I think.
Any other questions for Coach Taylor? Thank you so much, Coach.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. No, we got Jackson Moy with us. We'll take questions the same way we took them for Coach Taylor. Ben, first again.
Hey Jackson, I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on the Colorado offense from your perspective and what the key is going to be successful for your defense against them.
Yeah, Colorado, they have a lot of explosive weapons. I think as a defensive line unit, a key for us this week is maintaining the quarterback, because he's a pretty, like Coach Taylor mentioned, he's a special player and he can make things happen on the run, and trying to extend plays with his feet. So I think hitting home and getting sacks this week is going to be huge to help out our defensive backers.
Troy?
Yeah, kind of building on that a little bit. I mean, Shedeur Sanders is a quarterback who has been sacked quite often throughout the course of the early portion of this season. What do you think that could possibly mean for Stanford's front seven coming into this one?
Yeah, yeah, looking at those, just watching film, there's a lot of opportunities for us to get home. I think it's been an emphasis for us this week, but also just realizing that, just by stepping out on the field, those sacks aren't going to be given to you. So really just dialing in on your work, your technique throughout the week, and just bringing it in on game day.
Harold?
What are your thoughts on just the environment? I'm sure Colorado, it seems like they've had a lot of sellouts this season, kind of electric atmosphere. What are your thoughts kind of heading? I know you played at USC already, but you haven't had too many road games like that this season. What are your thoughts heading into that environment?
Yes, I'm super excited just to be in prime time atmosphere. A lot of fans. I like when the fans are hating. It's kind of a privilege to earn the hate and be respected by other teams. But we're gonna have to go out there and earn that respect, because it's not given. So just really excited to be in that environment. I know it's gonna be electric, and yeah, hopefully come out with a W.
John?
Jackson, year 2 versus year 1 for you. What's the one thing or one or two things you're better at this year than you were last year when you're in a game?
I would definitely say over the off season, shout out to our strength staff. They did an amazing job. I feel that I'm more stout in the run game. I feel like I'm more decisive on whether to pass on whether I get a different set. Still tons of room for improvement. Still working a lot, but I would say I'm definitely better in the run for sure, and just getting extension and getting guys off of me quicker.
Ben?
Yeah, just talk about as a whole unit. How do you feel the defensive line is kind of coming together? What are the strengths you guys are doing well, and what areas do you feel you guys most need to kind of improving it better at?
So talking with Coach Kalaji, when our defensive line and defensive unit as a whole, when everyone's doing their job, we're really good. But when one guy doesn't do their job, or if I don't do my job, our bad can be pretty bad at times. So I think just consistency this game is what we've really been focusing on, because we know we're capable. We know we have the ability to make big plays. We have a ton of talent and hardworking guys, but now it's just time to put it all together and really tighten up our miscues and just play a more complete, consistent game.
Troy?
Yeah, Jackson, we heard the approach to the bye week from the coach's standpoint from Coach Taylor. What's been the approach to the bye week, from the players' standpoint, as they try to, I'm sure, get healthy, maybe kind of get acclimated to being back in class and all those sorts of things? What's been on the to-do list for the players for the last couple of weeks or so?
Yeah, definitely getting healthy, getting on top of school for sure. Also, our coaches mentioned home. This is also an opportunity to get better, not to just slack off and party. It's not that time right now. We have a big game coming up this week, and we have a great opportunity. I think we have an advantage with our rest week, them on a short week this week preparing for us. So just really locking in and just realizing that we have a great opportunity to win some football games, and not not just hang our heads. So really take advantage of the opportunities to just work hard and get better.
John?
Jackson, sort of at least I've noticed it this year, that the changes maybe in scheme week to week. I mean, Hawaii, we saw the blitzes that we hadn't sort of seen before. And then Arizona game, I want to say the front seven seem different. I mean, is it really distinct week to week, kind of what the schematic game plan is, or is it just kind of a basic set and just getting better at the basic set week to week?
Yes, for sure. I'd say it's a different scheme week to week. And that's something I really appreciate in our defensive coaching staff, because it's preparing us for the next level, different schematics, and every offensive unit brings a different style to the plate. So just being able to adapt, and while also, like you mentioned, tightening up on the basics, but just being able to go with things on the fly. And I think it'll only make us better and more versatile.
Troy?
Ed Jackson, your dad went to USC. Obviously, as of right now, the USC Stanford rivalry is going to go by the wayside. But how is your signing to Stanford taken in the Moy household? And B, how much are you going to miss the USC Stanford rivalry, perhaps as a result of it?
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad was always very supportive of me. Of course, he's always going to be a USC fan at heart, but now he's also a Stanford fan. But I remember during my recruiting, he always mentioned to me that he wanted me to choose a school based on where my heart felt I belong, and not just because of where he went or where another family member went. He wanted to, he was always super supportive of me. I'm super, super thankful for him, and all my foundation that I have in my life. And to answer your other question, yes, I'm pretty SoCal kid. I'm pretty bummed that there's a chance that our rivalry might not continue, just because I grew up watching Andrew Luck, Tyler Gaffney, all those guys ball out against USC. Hopefully we can continue it, but if not, I'm grateful to have been a part of like the last 2 years.
Ben?
Kind of looking at PFF grades and all that kind of statistical stuff, it looks like you guys could do more in terms of pass rush and getting to the quarterback. Just kind of from your perspective, what do you guys need to do better? Not just as a defensive line, as a defense as a whole, in terms of applying pressure on the quarterback, and what needs to change and improve for that to happen this week against the Buffs.
Yes, I think as a defensive line unit, first, I think we need to be more decisive, because we have a lot of talented guys, hardworking guys that are capable of making big plays, but not just trying not to be in our heads too much, and just really getting after it, and not being hesitant, I would say, is the main key factor holding us back. So we've been working pretty hard, trying to show everyone what we can do. So I think just being more decisive in our pass rush and just getting after it, just being physical and violent, not trying to dance too much at the line, just straight up field, getting physical.
John?
Jackson, you just mentioned Tyler Gaffney. I know he's a alum of the school you went to, although there's a double-digit number of years in gaps, so you may not have met him. But I guess my question is, have you met him, and just sort of the pride in your high school? It's sort of like modern day or St. John Bosco South down there in San Diego.
Yes, I actually have met him a few times. Great dude. And yes, I'm super proud alum, Cathedral Catholic. Great high school, great experience. Almost like a pipeline from here to Stanford. I always say Stanford's like another cathedral. I remember on my visit, it felt just like home, and it felt like the right place to be. And being here for 2 years, I can definitely attest to that. Yeah, just super grateful to have those connections.
Any other questions? Thank you, Jackson.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right, well, I'd say raise hands, but we already have one. So John Platts, you're up first.
Casey, just a word about Oregon. I know you followed the program before you got to college. You played against them for years. How does that Oregon team that you just played stack up to some of the prior ones?
Good question. Yeah, they're a really good group of dudes. They got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. They're very physical from a front seven standpoint. On the defensive side, I would say they got a really smart, experienced, talented quarterback in Bo Nix. They create a lot of movement up front for their backs and protect Bo Nix well. I don't think he's been sacked a whole lot this year. And so I've seen some really good Oregon Ducks teams. I don't know honestly where I would rank them specifically. They're up there. They're obviously, one of the top teams in the Pac-12. And so, yeah, I'll kind of just leave it at that.
Ben?
Yeah, Casey, just kind of thoughts on the Colorado defense from what you've seen so far, and just what's going to be the key to you guys offensively finding success against them.
Yeah, I think Colorado is a super active defense. They fly around. They've got really good play up front. I think they get a lot of good movement, try to kind of make things confusing for the offensive line. And on the back end, I think they got some good DBs who come in with some solid experience. So I think the key for us is we're going to have to stick to the game plan that we're practicing this week. I think we're going to have a good plan dialed up for those guys and just be ready for a battle for 4 quarters or however long it takes.
Troy?
Yeah, Casey, kind of take us through what some of the messages amongst the student athletes themselves have been, trying to keep everyone on the same page throughout the bye week, physically, mentally, all those sorts of things, and getting ready for the stretch run here. What's been the chatter in the locker room, and what's been the mood of the guys from the bye week coming into this week?
Yeah, it was nice to have the bye week when we did. For the past few years, it's been like week 3 or week 2. Especially for my class, and we've kind of gone through that. So it's nice to have more of a mid-season kind of week to just regroup. And we went after it during the bye week, not gonna lie. We didn't take really any days off. Practice was physical, dudes were getting after each other. And the messages remained consistent, we're taking it 1 week at a time. It's 1 game seasons. And I think that we've done a good job of kind of reiterating that message throughout the locker room. Guys we're not getting down on ourselves. We know we're right there. We're super close to being where we want to be. And, I think we're all encouraged by that fact. Obviously we've lost some close games and that's really hard, but we got to leave those in the past. And I think we got a great opportunity starting with this week to, start this back half of the season off on the right foot.
John?
Casey, I know you've been around the block more so than most of your teammates. You played at Autzen last year, loud, Husky Stadium, loud. Colorado promises to be that way. They've sold it out for Friday night. What are the challenges in your role in a noisy stadium when you're out there on the field?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of times people don't really understand how big of an effect that plays when you're thinking about on-field communication. Just an example that comes up into my head is last year when we were playing at UW. At one point at the start of that game, I couldn't even hear Tanner when he was standing right next to me and we're in the backfield and he's trying to tell me something. Like, you can't even hear a dude right next to you. So it does play a big role. But what I love about our offense is it's, relies a lot on signals. So, the noise can't do anything to affect signals, right? It's like you get the signal, you know what your job's going to be. We've done a good job from a running back and O-line perspective of being on the same page in terms of pass protection, calling out dudes who, we're responsible for. So it's definitely gonna be loud. We're looking forward to it. And it's just an awesome opportunity.
Troy?
Could be a noisy atmosphere in Boulder. It's always a high elevation up there. How much does having the tempo ratcheted up in practices and the conditioning, even leading up to the season, how much of that could be a plus, and turning things up in practice and conditioning during the offseason? How much could that be a plus heading into an environment like this?
I think it's obviously a huge plus for us from a standpoint of just being ready to go. I know, speaking for basically everybody on the team, we haven't played at Colorado before. It's my first time. I think back in 2020, the COVID year, they came and played us at home. But this is my first time going out there. This is all of our first times going out there. So we, I think the biggest thing for us is just trusting our training. We put in, months worth of conditioning work and strength work to get ready for games like this. So I think it's a huge plus for us in terms of being able to trust our training. Coach Dietrich and our strength staff have done a great job getting us ready to go for every game. But this one's really no different.
Thank you, Ben.
You're part of the return game as one of the guys that returns kicks / punts. Just talk about what you feel like you guys need to do to be more explosive in that area.
Yeah, I think I would speak from I can speak from a punt return perspective. I would say we've gotten some decent return looks this year. I've fair caught a decent amount of balls just because we've been putting solid pressure on the punter, and sometimes the dude will just hang up the ball kind of in the air, and it might go shorter and kind of have a high hang time. So there's nothing you can do really about those kind of punts or punting it out of bounds or whatever. But I will say, just for ones that we do get the opportunity to return, it's all about ball me man leverage. The types of returns we do, whether it's a right return or a middle return or whatever we end up doing that given week. It's big that we are kind of just getting guys on bodies, and so that I can make the first dude miss and hopefully find a crease to get some yardage. But we're close. We're there. When the opportunity presents itself, I trust my guys to help me get to the promised land. So hopefully we can get one of those back here soon.
John?
Casey, as a player who is able to catch the ball out of the backfield or line up in the slot, is your week to week sort of burden more than maybe some of your teammates, and you need to learn tackling tendencies of safeties or linebackers, how well they are sort of sideline to sideline? Or is there more study for you because you're such a good receiver, or is that all running backs sort of have to do sort of the same amount of study as far as that goes?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I would say it doesn't really affect the way you prepare from watching how does a linebacker tackle versus how does a safety or a corner tackle. And that's just because when I watch film, at least, you think a lot about kind of just visualizing what you could make happen on a given play. And a lot of those times, you envision yourself breaking through kind of the D line and then, getting up on the second level. And so it's always important to know kind of how those linebackers and safeties and corners, tackle and play. So the fact that I'd be catching the ball out of the backfield or doing anything like that doesn't make a huge difference for me. And yeah, I have a pretty kind of just standard routine week to week.
Ben?
Yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on the running back rotation you guys have had. You guys have been using kind of a 4-back kind of system with you and Cedric and EJ and Ryan. Kind of different than last year. Just how has that adjustment gone for you from your perspective, and just kind of all of you just kind of being a part of a 4-back kind of rotation? What's that been like?
It's been cool. I think it's great when you have a lot of guys that can go. Coach Agnew's done, a good job of rotating us in and out and trying to put us in the best positions to succeed. It's created a competitive environment for us to want to go out and do our best on any given play. And I think it's in comparison to just the last few years, it's obviously, different. I wasn't rotating much last year when I was healthy. Besides the fact, obviously, when EJ was still healthy at the beginning of the season. So it is different, but I appreciate it. And, I think we've had a decent start to the season, but there's a lot to build and improve on for us to really establish ourselves as a good running back group.
Back to Ben.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on one of your teammates, Kanaj Washington, kind of a little guy, walk on. Just talk about what he's kind of brought to the room. And I know my understanding is he got admitted and joined the team and really was integral to you guys during spring ball when you guys were down. Just kind of talk about what he's kind of brought to your room and what it's been like having him as a teammate.
Yeah, I mean, Kanaj is a guy who I look at, and I got to give him a lot of praise and credit for sticking it out the way he has. You know, anytime you're in somebody's position like him, coming in, not even a preferred walk-on, you know, kind of just threw his name in, wanted to help the team out, play football. And he, you know, rode with the ups and downs, and he was crucial for us in spring ball. You know, when some dudes got nicked up, he was able to go in and you know, be a serviceable back. And you know, it's hard, and especially for a guy coming in his position, playing running back at the college football level is hard. And he came in, always has a smile on his face, you know, takes coaching well. Super smart dude, and he brings the right attitude every single day. So he's a great addition to our room, and it's been awesome, you know, getting to become better friends with him.
All right, that'll end today's press conference.